You are live.
We're live.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
I don't know about you, but Monday was always one of my favorite days of the week. And I know that's kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah,
I like it.
I think the only people that don't like a Monday, well, kids who go to school, and then like the 9 to 5ers.
Yeah.
And I've never had a 9 to 5 job. I've always been in customer service, hospitality. So it's like I worked Saturday. I worked Sunday. So I've never been the Monday.
Nope, I like Mondays.
So why do you like Mondays? Other than quilt talk?
Well, that's a big one now. But even when I was working, I used to, it was someplace to go. It was something to do. I was needed there. It was.
I think I get most production done on Monday.
Yeah, I like Mondays because it's like, okay, new week.
Right.
What do we got going on? Fresh
Right.
start. So I hope you guys feel the same way.
So welcome to Happy Monday.
That's right. Happy Monday. All right. Where to start? There's so much going on.
It's like even this table is busy.
I know. So
Start with a sewing machine.
you want to start with the sewing machines? Well, that is probably what's in my brain the most because, last quilt talk, I talked about the new Janome machines, whoop, whoop, which is awesome. So within a week, guess what? Baby Lock has also announced their new machines.
Oh, wow.
So,
do you get to go to a class for that too? So
I'm leaving Thursday to go to Baby Lock Tech in St. Louis. We'll be gone for 4 or 5 days. But I always wish they had, like, we showed up to Baby Lock Tech and then they drew the curtains back and that was the announcement of the new machines. But now everybody knows. So it's a little anticlimactic for me. But at least it's cool. We know what's going on. And so I know what I'm kind of looking for and what I want to learn when I go. But so the new Janome machines are awesome. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. But the new Baby Lock machines, and we'll do way more and talk way more about it. We've got the Altair 2, which is a sewing embroidery combination machine. It's basically the machine right below the Solaris. So if you don't necessarily want to spend Solaris money, this Altair should be on your radar. It is loaded. It's awesome. The Meridian 2 is being released, and that is the top of the line embroidery only.
Okay.
So since you're getting into embroidery so much, right?
We're not going to go to a top of the line embroidery
No,
machine.
I know.
It's not that up top of my list.
No, but so the Meridian 2 is an awesome machine, and I'm glad that they did an Altair 2 and a Meridian 2 because people who owned the Altairs and the Meridians were feeling left out because they kept doing a Solaris 2, a Solaris 3. So I'm glad that they're finally doing that. It's really cool. They're also releasing an Accomplish 2, which is their straight stitch machine, which is really nice. I don't know what all the new features are. Have you looked at all?
No.
Okay. But I'm excited because that's a really good machine. But I think that, honestly, I'll just say it, the HD9 seemed to have a leg up on it. So I'm wondering if they've kind of upped that up,
HD9, is that
it's a Janome. It's not it is straight stitch only. Yeah, it is. It's a heavy duty machine. The comparison and where I think the Accomplish is really nice is some people think the HD9 is too heavy for classes. So the Accomplish is actually a nice, much lighter, much more. It's not light, but it's lighter. Yeah, exactly.
So light enough that you wouldn't complain about taking it to a class. Like, any of the big machines are just.
Yeah. Well, these machines, these nice, huge machines, they're fantastic. And even if you have a trolley, it's still putting it in the car, getting it out. They're heavy.
They're heavy, yeah.
So the Accomplish is nice. And if you're looking for a good straight stitch machine, if you're making bags or even quilting, free motion quilting, it's fast. It's super durable. It'll go through layers. Keep that on your radar. So, and we'll have all these in stock and you'll get to see them and play with them and we'll talk way more about it. But I wanted you to know that we know. And people are already emailing me and asking about pre-orders. You can pre-order literally any of the new machines. I just don't have the dates for the Baby Lock machines of when they're going to be out. So be patient.
Well, you know that better after your
exactly.
After class.
Literally
So
next
wait
week.
10 days.
Yeah, right. Literally next week. So
No quilt talk next week.
yeah, unless you guys want to do something. So probably not, right? Okay, so maybe no quilt talk next week. So we got to make this one super special.
That's right. Pressure's on.
All right. So all those new Baby Lock machines, it's awesome. There's also a new 7x12 magnetic hoop. And there's upgrades. So obviously, if you own an Altair or a Meridian, you don't have to go buy the new one. You buy the upgrade and save a bunch of money.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. Now the Janome machines, I've got paperwork this time. The first new release is is that going to work? Maybe 9410. Thank you, Vanna. And then the 9480. So this machine here, let me plug this in actually. And the reason that I have this here, this is the 9450. This is not a new machine. This has been, I don't know how, they've had this machine for a while. And it was time that they upgraded. And so the 9480 is definitely the upgrade to this machine. So it still has a bazillion stitches, more stitches than anybody needs. You've got the the Acu feed, which is basically for those that don't understand that, it's a built-in walking foot.
Okay, so it's a dual feed.
It's a dual feed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All the different brands, not all of them have that, but they call it something different. And so this is called the Acu feed. And it's literally a built-in walking foot that's really, really nice for you quilters.
You know, it's curious to me because FOF has had that forever. You know, that was always their claim to fame.
Yeah.
And it took so long. It wasn't until the last, I don't know, I'm thinking 5 years, but probably more than that the other brands were coming up with something that was similar to that. But I was wondering why it took so long for them to do that.
Bernina's had what do they call it? The dual feed?
I think they call it.
I think that's the dual feed.
Mm-hmm.
And this is well, I mean, it's genius. It's awesome that you don't have to have the separate the old school walking foot that you got to take the shank off and put it on.
Difference. I mean, even some of the smaller machines now have it, and it just makes a huge difference in how you can sew.
Yeah, I agree. You know, the old school walking feet are clanky.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like them. They're bumpy. Now, I will say, not to get away from Janome, Baby Lock does not have the built-in system, but they have on some of their top of the line machines it's an electric belt-driven walking foot,
right,
which is phenomenal. And they did make it smaller, but it's still pretty large. But it is really nice.
And
so
I know a lot of people who like that instead of the dual feed that's built in.
It's personal preference.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then of course, hopefully, camera gets this.
There's a light though,
They can't see that. Oh, bummer. Oh, missed it. But so what's nice about the 9450 is that it has this extendable light.
Perfect.
Well, what they've done on the 9480 is made that light even greater. So I believe it's actually brighter, but it's at a different angle to where it lights up all of this in front of you much better. Let me move the magnifying glass out of the way here. I know I'm kind of at a weird angle. Some of the biggest upgrades, and hopefully you can see the comparison. I do have this machine coming in. Unfortunately, it's not here yet, so we're going to do it like this. But if you look at the screen alone, what they've done is they've added some sweet little knobs right here. And for you Bernina folks, you know that the dials, which they do have on the M7 for stitch width and stitch length, are awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're placing them right here. So you've got a larger screen. It's going to be easier to navigate. They've moved their buttons, the cheater buttons, up on the front there. So it's just a nicer, sleeker look, easier to use, easier to reach. Am I missing anything?
Yeah, the way
It's this part of the front of the casing is actually more of an angle. So that light even has more, it illuminates the fabric way better, because this one here is kind of straight down and it almost gives you a little shadow. So this machine is phenomenal, but what they've done with this is a game changer, mainly because this is, and I talked about this last week, now compatible with it, which is phenomenal. So Joann, remember we talked about this,
yes,
right?
We did. Mm-hmm.
I don't think I talked too much about it, but it comes with a ruler foot,
Nice.
echo foot, right?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't remember what it was called last time. An echo foot and then an open toe.
You can do anything with this.
So I was actually at Janome and I got to play, and I've never done ruler work, and I know the camera's probably not going to pick this up.
Did they see it?
I tell you, I was just telling Joann, I didn't think I was going to like ruler work because if you've never done it, you really have to watch the foot, touch the ruler. And I thought it was going to be stressful, but I think I can see myself really enjoying it. Once I get over that nervous sort of.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a learning curve.
Yeah.
But then once you get past that, it's really cool.
Absolutely. Then of course we did a little bit of applique, and then I just did some free motion blocks. And I am not a free motion master, but all of those stitches are the same because I had a stitch regulator. And then I did echo something or other and more applique. And I tell you, it just, and I've said this before, I love the Bernina's BSR. I got used to it. A lot of people didn't like it. This is nicer. Sorry, Bernina. It's nicer. I know. Well, so Bernina is still awesome. Don't get me wrong, but I am blown away with how easy this is to use. So the fact that they didn't only put this on the CM17, because not everybody wants a combination embroidery sewing machine. Also, not everybody wants to spend more than 12 grand. So the fact that they're offering this for the new
so this is an
memory
add-on.
craft. This is an optional. It is optional. I have a feeling if you come in and decide you want to get a 9480 from us, this little bad boy is going to come with it. We'll probably make it a bundle because I'll be honest with you, I don't know why you wouldn't want it. So we're just going to throw it in and make a sweet deal.
Yeah.
Also, and I don't want to talk too much about it because these are not coming out till October, but it's a big deal. The M6 is now replacing the M7, and then they've upgraded to an M8, which does include the ASR stitch regulator. So again, 13.5 inches of throat space. We have an M7 on the floor. If you have not seen it, it's insane. It's the greatest, in my opinion, it's the greatest domestic quilting machine on the market. And it is by far, like literally, it's the fastest and the biggest as far as the throat space. So pretty awesome. Janome has finally stepped up their game, and it was perfect timing that we just so happened to pick them up.
My husband often watches us when he's at home, and I have a feeling at this point he's having kind of heart palpitations.
Yeah, but she gets the friends and family discount. Don't worry, hubby. All right, I didn't say good morning to anybody. Good morning, Linda. Good morning, Marilyn. Good morning, Char. Good morning, Laura.
My goodness, all my favorite people.
All your favorite people. Good morning, Linda. Another Linda. The whole point is, and I know I'm like rapid, fast information, but there's a lot of new machines coming out and a lot of exciting things. And it's all happening at the same time, which is kind of awesome and a little overwhelming.
I would think overwhelming
Yeah.
for you because now you have to know all of this stuff and about 2 different brands.
The nice thing is, well, I used to sell 5 different brands. And so the nice thing is once you've been doing this long enough, it's easy to notice the differences because you just know the machine so well. And so the actual model numbers, memorizing that's a little difficult, but getting excited about the features is fun.
Cool.
And it is. And it's one of those like, oh, this is going to be my new machine, my personal new machine. And I'm like, oh, wait, they're coming out with something else. So people are like, what do you sew on? I'm like, all of them.
Yeah.
Just because there's
you
always
get to
something.
Come in and play with them.
I am spoiled rotten, 100%. So a lot of exciting new things. If you're in the market for a new machine and you're looking at one of these new release, give us a call. You can pre-order. The 2 new Janomes are coming in any day. They could be here today. And so we're definitely taking orders on those. But as far as the M7 or the M6 and M8 and then the new baby locks, just call us. We can get you taken care of.
Wow. Okay. On
top of new machines, new fabric. And Tony was nice enough to make an awesome video for us. I'll say it, Rachel Hauer, she is getting close to becoming one of my favorite designers.
What's this line called? Mariana?
This is Mariana. Yeah, this is Rachel Hauer's newest line, I should say.
Okay.
And hold on, let me see that one, Joann. What are these called? What are these
What's
fish?
the tag say? I think
I forget the name of these. Anglers. Anglers abound. Is that an angler fish, I guess?
I think that's what it is.
How cool is that?
It looks gold, but it's not. There's no metallic in this line. But
Yeah, I mean, so not everybody. There's been a lot of ocean themes, but they don't do it like this. And like you said, they picked out an angler, an anchovy.
No,
What's the one thing that
mermaid purse.
mermaid? We just learned what a mermaid purse was.
Does everybody else know what the mermaid purse is? Look it up.
I don't know if did we bring the
And the
mermaid
scallops.
purse? I think it's in the bottom.
That's in there.
Oh yeah, okay, cool.
It has every unusual creature. So it has stingrays. It has
The whale shark.
Has
Anchovies.
anchovies.
And the colors are so rich.
That teal. Rachel's known for her teals. She loves her
Yeah, that's a
teals.
beautiful,
And the
beautiful
gold.
teal.
Her
And that gold
Halloween
that goes with it.
Halloween line had that teal.
So like these two together are just
Shoo.
gorgeous, just beautiful.
Sea anemone. Just like
Anemone.
Finding Nemo.
That's right.
And the jellies. You can never have enough jellies. There's some purple jellies in there.
Oh,
And here's the mermaid purses.
that's
hanging off the
a
other-
mermaid purse. Looks like a mask, a face mask.
It does kind of look like a face.
I only have that in my mind because for the past week I've been out with the COVID, so I've been wearing a mask like in my house, feeling helpless. But I'm back, COVID free. You guys, come see me. So exciting fabric, and we've got more stuff coming in. But I love that line. So, and it's way better in person, and it looked good on camera too. So, I'm excited.
Yeah, just
we're gonna
amazing colors on that.
we're gonna have to make something with that, and we talked about maybe chopping up, doing some fat quarter bundles because we got the quilt show coming up. So hopefully we have some of that left. Well, actually, you know what? No, I don't care if we take it. You guys come in and get it. And then also classes. Let me step to the side here. Don't you get me sick again. I just got better. So you probably recognize this. I don't know if the camera can see that, Tony.
Yeah,
They
sure.
can.
We see
Okay,
all of
so maybe you guys didn't like the Halloween as much as I did. So Mary was awesome enough and came out and did a different design using different fabrics. And immediately people were like, oh, what's this class? And we had a sign up. So we are offering this again because it is a really cool Quilt As You Go table runner. And I think you guys would really enjoy this class.
That's Friday.
It is Friday, and there are spots available. So this is really neat, and I think you can see that. So make it reversible. You can still be awesome and do Halloween if you want. I'm just saying, but I get it if you don't want to and you want to do something, or you know, you can do Christmas or whatever you want. Artistic license. But Mary will show you the steps to make this, and it's just a really cool way to learn the Quilt As You Go technique, right? And then this is a bag making 101, kind of an introduction to bag making. And I'm excited about this. This is a new teacher, Amber Delaney. Thank you. That's right. This is your homie.
That's right.
This is Amber. I'm glad that Amber's doing this. I'm glad she approached us with this. This is really cool. So if you've just been, looking at some of our bag classes and thinking maybe, all right, they seem a little bit too advanced, this is where you can get your feet wet. And these are really, I love this.
It's also good learning basic sewing techniques.
Oh, basic sewing techniques. Yeah. Good point.
You'll
Yeah.
have fun.
A reversible tote bag. Yeah. And Amber's awesome. So that's a fun class. And I don't know if you could see it, but that's on the 24th. So that's Thursday.
Yeah.
Whoop.
This
All
week's
right.
full. We've got Serger Club.
Serger Club.
Tomorrow. We got Wednesday's Hump Day Hoopers.
Hump Day Hoopers Club.
And then we have an open sewing studio on Saturday.
And we have an open sew on Saturday. Woo.
Wow. Busy week.
It is a busy week. Yeah, and Maria and I are leaving on Thursday to go to St. Louis, like I said. So come in and harass Tony and Tamara. And I think Christy might even be here a couple days. So
Wow.
yeah,
When
But-
the cat's away.
that's right. But I will say that means, and I'm going to be gone for a little bit tomorrow, but I'm going to be here at least in the afternoon, all day today, and then all day Wednesday. Just saying, if you're in the mood to wheel and deal, you may want to take advantage. I'm feeling a little
He's vulnerable.
vulnerable. Thank you. That's the perfect word. All right, cool. Okay, I've been talking a lot. You ready to talk?
Sure.
What are we talking about?
So today we're talking about sewing a straight line, and we're talking about it because of you. Because last week or whenever recently when we were doing one of these, you were talking about the fact that it's really hard to to sew straight. And
Stresses me out.
stresses you out. And I thought, well, you're not the only one. And I don't think it's a problem that beginners really think about. I think it's something that you start thinking about when things aren't turning out exactly like you want them to, and you can't really quite figure out what's wrong or what you need to do about it. And you just know your blocks aren't quite the size you want them. They're maybe a little off, things like that. And that's frustrating you, but that tends to be something that happens as you sew. A lot of times beginners just want to get through that first quilt, and they don't really care about all that stuff. They just want to see the finished product.
I totally get that, actually.
And then so it's kind of comes along with how long you've been quilting and how much time you're putting into it. So I thought, as I thought about that, I started thinking about, well, what makes it easier to what you have to do to make a seam straight. And so I watched a few videos, and I thought about my own practice, and I thought about what happens when I'm teaching others, and what I see in just general practice. And I decided that there were 3 different places where you have to really pay attention. One is the beginning of the seam, one is the middle of the seam, and one is the end of the seam. Seems kind of obvious, doesn't it? So,
but I was going to nice pun.
Yes. So anyway, there's different problems with each one. So the beginning of the seam, and you probably have all faced this at one point or another, where the beginning of the seam is you start to sew, and the thread gets all rat's nest underneath, and it jams up the beginning, and it's all a mess. Well, the problem is that the thread wants to be under tension in order to have a nice clean start. So there's a couple of ways you can do that. And I think, I just learned this for my own machine recently, where if you pull your threads to the left, if you have both threads pulled to the left, you're going to start perfectly. Go figure. I don't know why that works. Or another thing.
You mean the bobbin thread?
The bobbin
have
thread
it up?
and the top thread.
You hold your tails.
Like you hold your tails? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you pull them off to the left, and it works. Or you can, when you finish sewing a seam, instead of using your thread cutter, which I don't know why anybody wouldn't do that, but instead of using that, you bring it around and use the thread cutter that's on the side of your machine. It brings up both of your threads and it holds them in place. So when you start sewing, the thread is under tension and it will sew straight. And the last,
It's true.
The last thing is using kind of a little leader ender sort of thing, where you start with a little piece. You put a little piece of fabric underneath the needle, and you start sewing on there, and then you just gradually feed in whatever your block is that you're working on. And so what I do when I'm doing that, if I'm having one of my machines is really bad with this, so I'll use the leader and ender, and I'll use one at the beginning and one at the end, and then when I put it in at the end, I'm all ready to start the next seam.
Oh, I got you.
So that's the leader ender. So that's kind of the beginning thing. The other thing that you can do is use that single hole plate for foot plate, which helps prevent the fabric from jamming down in the plate.
It's a straight stitch plate. A lot of machines
Right.
come with it.
Mm-hmm. It just has that one little hole.
Single hole.
And then thank you. Single hole was what I was trying to think of. And the especially with some of the newer machines that have the 9mm stitch plate, which makes it hard, which really pulls the fabric down. So anyway, and that's the beginning. The middle is kind of interesting because you kind of think, well, the middle, why would there be any problem with the middle? And what happens, and I think a lot of the problem with straight sewing anyway, is that you're sewing, the machine's doing the work, and you can think about other things. And so maybe you're thinking about, well, what's the next thing I'm going to feed into the machine, or what, how are the colors coming together, or any number of things, or, do I need to go feed the dog? Any number of things can be on your mind when you're sewing. But the thing is, you really need to be paying attention. And that will solve a lot of your problems. But another thing that you can do for the middle of your seam is that, some of the things that are working against you is that, especially if you're using a 1/4-inch foot, there's this little tiny bit of foot that's holding a little tiny bit of fabric, and the rest of your fabric and the rest of the weight of the fabric is over on the left-hand side. So there's a tendency for your fabric to move around even just a little bit as you're sewing along. So one of the things that you can do is you can stack a little, this is masking tape, and I've stacked 5 or 6 pieces of tape on top of each other, and you put that down. You figure out where the 1/4-inch, where your fabric should end up on the machine if you're sewing a 1/4-inch seam, and you put it right along there. And then you lean your fabric. You concentrate on leaning your fabric right into that ledge. Now, the first time I ever did this, I was taking a class, and the teacher was a precision sewing teacher, but that wasn't what the class was about. But, as teachers are, they throw those things in. So she was telling us to do this and to put that little piece of tape there that's stacked up, and it'll straighten out your seams. And I was thinking to myself, I am a quilting teacher. I do not need that. But she was standing right next to me. So I kind of had to do it. And I was amazed that it actually helped. It actually helped me keep my fabric nice and straight. It helped me keep it from moving around. And my seam was so much straighter. And I was amazed. So don't be too proud.
Yeah, that's true. Also, don't stare at your needle.
That's right. And that's
I don't know if you were going to say that. Sorry,
Yeah.
but
And that is a big one. You don't look at your needle, because if you're looking at your needle, you have no ability to anticipate what's going on. You can't see whether your fabric's moving around. All you can see is right there at the needle. So if you're sewing with the tape, and you're concentrating on keeping your fabric right up against the tape, then then you can adjust for any movement that you have in your fabric. Another thing that can kind of be a challenge is half square triangles. So when you're sewing a half square triangle together, you're sewing those 2 pieces together that come at an angle. The fabric feeds at a different rate because you've got one point and then you've got the angle. So the foot and the feed dogs are not catching everything at the same time. So the easy way about this, if you're having problems with the seam not being nice and straight because of that, is you just blunt this so that you, of course, forgot a scissors. You just cut right across the tip here so that you're feeding in a straight piece, and it feeds at the same rate.
Oh, yeah.
So that's that.
So one thing, and I don't know if you're about to get to this. When Tony made me do my own binding. I did most of. I started it. I don't remember how much I did, but it was sewing a straight line, and it was that whole binding thing. I'm like, this is the end of the quilt. I don't want to mess it up because like everything else looks so good. Don't screw it up at the end. But what I was having a problem with is that and I can sew a straight line. Okay. I joke around, but I can, and I know what to look at and where to follow the guide, but it kept kind of wanting to fold over and bunch up. And I'm going, how do I get it to be all nice and smooth? I don't want all these creases. And so I can't remember. You told me to use a stiletto or something, or maybe it was a seam ripper just to hold the fabric down. Is that right? Is that?
And that's very good. That's very good advice. I use it to some degree in the center, in the middle section, but where I really use it is at the end. When you're getting to the end, because when you get to the end of a seam, you're definitely thinking about something else. And not only are you thinking about something else, but your hands are too big to really hold that fabric in place. So if you bring your stiletto in and you hold, and you can use anything, you can use a nice strong straight pin, you can use a chopstick, you can use a
porcupine needle is one of the ones I've seen too.
Porcupine needle?
Porcupine needles, which are very sharp.
Yes.
And
porcupine needle.
Or a seam ripper. If you have a seam ripper, that I know my seam ripper stays very close to me, and you can use that as well. I do have this stiletto, and I tend to hold that stiletto. And when I'm doing a binding, I use the stiletto constantly because I'm constantly, because with when you're doing a binding, you definitely have a weight issue.
Well, and I think that's what it was. It was the weight. It wasn't a
Mhm.
huge quilt, but it definitely
You
was.
still have
I'm
weight.
like, man, I'm fighting against this thing.
Yeah. And the other thing when you have a weight issue is a glove, a quilting glove, and on your left hand to really keep things in
Just
line.
for grip, you mean?
Just for grip,
Okay.
because your hands will slip on the fabric, and so you're not really accomplishing much with just your hands. So a nice glove that has the grippy on the bottom. I'm sorry, the dog is eating this one.
We sell these, Joann, if you need some, unless you like the holes, it's more breathable.
That's right. So anyway, so that's the middle, and the stiletto is very helpful there as well. And then the end is definitely an attention thing. And at the end of your seam, you really want to continue paying attention. And the stiletto, keeping your fabric right up against your tape there, that the little ledge that you've built. I think one of the big things when you're really looking at sewing straight and developing that skill is it takes being very intentional about learning that skill. And it's not one of the things that we think about a lot. We think about other things, but when you get to the point where you really want to make a change, then you have to be intentional about changing your habits and finding those things that will help you make sure that you're sewing correctly. And that's, I think that's the big thing.
Yeah, right tool makes the job easier.
That's right. Absolutely.
Very cool.
So that's my thing
Don't
for
be
the day.
afraid. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good point. And I'm glad that I don't think I'm alone by saying that sewing straight is
you're
nerve
not.
wracking. So that's good.
You're not. And it's constantly, as a teacher, I see it as a constant problem. And, and finally, people will be really frustrated, and finally, just realizing that they have to really pay attention and be intentional about learning that new skill.
That's amazing. Because in these kids classes, they'll sit down, sew the straight line. They have zero fear.
Mhm. I love kids.
I do too. But again, it's that I think once you've done it for a while, you're also a little bit more, we're always our own worst critic, right? And so we're like, oh boy. And so we're way more judgmental of ourselves and we're harder on ourselves. So I think you're right. As you sew longer, it probably
That's right.
becomes more of an issue.
Yeah.
Wonderful tip and trick. Not really a trick, just wonderful tips.
Okay.
That's awesome. Don't be afraid to sew straight lines. Okay, I think. I thought if that felt really fast. I was like, what do we got? 15 minutes? We've been doing this for almost 45. Cool. Well, I guess you guys have an amazing day. Straight. What is that? Too much coffee? Sure. That's funny. I don't think I missed any questions or anything, right? You guys are quiet this morning. That's all right. If you have any questions on the new machines, call us. Don't forget to mark your calendars for Quilt Fest, September 14th, 15th, 16th. I'm going to be out of town, so come harass the ladies. Oh, by the way, since there are new machines coming, the M7 is being discontinued. The 9450 is being discontinued. Come in and see us because we're blowing those things out. I'm going to make a post. We've got a handful of machines that we're going to be blowing out because new machines are coming in. So if you don't care so much about the stitch regulator, you can save thousands of dollars to get this bad boy. So
Okay.
Joann's hubby. You would need the ASR. You're a quilter.
That's true.
Well, no, you have a long arm.
I do.
Do you ever do free motion? Like, I don't see you do much. No?
Why?
No, I just got a long arm.
True. On a domestic machine. Why would I? You've got this.
Yeah, I do the collages on my sewing machine.
True. But you don't do, well, yeah, I guess you do. You'll free motion in there and play, right?
No, straight lines.
Just, oh yeah, you are. Always grids. That's right.
Mhm.
We're opposites that way. That's why we're a good connection or
That's
a good team here. Cool.
Fill in each other's gaps.
That's right. Complete each other's.
Just complete.
Really? Your sentences. That was a layup. All right. On that note, live to create. Have an amazing week.
Bye.
I thought for sure you were going to say sentences.